The 3A dormitories were all abuzz, putting together Christmas decorations inside and out, while Mirio and Najiri conducted the crew of students outside to decorate their balconies and windows. The common room crew busied with putting together decorations along the walls and other furnishings. You helped organize and conduct the crew, helping out in offering any bells, baubles, and holly to spread around, as well as manage their progress. Meanwhile, Tamaki, as timid as always, stuck by you for most of the decorating and helped ease any heavy lifting required when attending to the other students. After a well-deserved lunch break, the crew continued on to decorate the large common area until evening began to spring upon all of you. Then came the Christmas tree. It was already late into the evening, and seeing that it was Sunday and classes were tomorrow, you decided to relieve the common room crew, thanking them for their assistance. With the class dismissed to enjoy the rest of the weekend evening, you looked up at the tall tree. It was considerably tall, with its peak as high as the windows in the common room. But now, with the room all decked out with boughs of holly, it was time to focus on decorating it. You began visualizing the best course of action to disperse the remaining decorations around it, humming to yourself as you stared at it, head tilted. With the amount of baubles, tinsel, and holly left over, you wanted to make sure that the tree looked its best and at its fullest. As you stared up at it, Tamaki stood next to you, turning his eyes between yourself and the pine tree.
What are you thinking?
He asked meekly. Trying to determine the best look for the tree, you pondered out loud, still staring. I guess we're going with the traditional tinsel swirl, complementing bauble colors, sprigs of holly, and mistletoe. What do you think? You turned to Tamaki, whose eyes were soft and his smile small and gentle.
I think that's a good starting point,
he responded, his confidence a little boosted now that the two of you were the only ones left in the room. Hey guys! Called a perky voice from the entranceway. The both of you found Najiri bounding towards you in her large coat, with Mirio walking up from behind her.
Everything was a success outside. I think we've outdone ourselves this year. That's great,
you exclaimed in reply.
Those second years won't stand a chance, but all in good spirits.
Najiri giggled before she turned to the bare-looking tree standing tall.
You're not done yet?
Not yet,
responded Tamaki.
We're happy to help out,
Mirio spoke, his cheerful smile on display.
It'll be good to spend some time with all of you indoors from the chill, for a bit anyway.
Are you sure?
You asked. Without a beat, Mirio pulled a thumbs up to everyone, beaming with determination and resolve.
Always and will be,
he responded with a grin. Najiri cheered with delight as she quickly grabbed a hold of your hands towards the boxes with what was left over from the common room decorating spree. With that, all four of you began the decorating process, pulling out what remained from the boxes left over. Needless to say, the baubles that were left did not complement each other, and any tinsel left were too short to make one continuous line. But with the help of Najiri, you were able to make a display of tinsel with what colors were left, coordinating between the both of you how they were placed on the branches. Mirio and Tamaki took care of the baubles, making sure they were dispersed far enough to cover the tree, but still close enough to keep them uniform. The four of you worked symbiotically together as the tree slowly came to life with the color and sparkle of all that was left. After half an hour of placing the ornaments and odds and ends to the tree, you beamed up at the result.
Well, all that's left is the tree topper,
you spoke, pulling out a golden star from the boxes. It was the size of your palm, covered in glitter, and it looked as if it had seen its best days in the past. But nevertheless, it was perfect. You looked up towards the peak of the tree, realizing that despite the use of a few stools to decorate the top half of the tree thanks to Mirio and Tamaki, neither of you were tall enough to reach the top to place the tree topper. You swirled the star in your hand, contemplating on what to do. Noticing your thoughtful expression, Tamaki studied your face, watching your brows furrow the slightest as you stared at the peak of the tree. He slowly approached your side and placed a gentle hand on your shoulder, catching your attention.
I have an idea.
He spoke.
Forgive me.
Confused, and in a flash, tentacles wrapped around your waist as you watched Tamaki activate his quirk. It was gentle as they wrapped around you and supported your weight, carrying you high up to the tree. Taken by surprise from the sudden liftoff, you held on before you realized you were strategically placed by the treetop. You looked down at the big three, watching their faces brighten at the sight of you above them.
Don't worry,
Called out Mirio.
Tamaki won't drop you.
You chuckled in response.
I'm sure I'll be okay, but doesn't anyone else want to put the tree topper on instead?
It's fine,
Responded Tamaki, taking you by surprise further.
this time I want to help you. You deserve the privilege.
For a moment, you were surprised with Tamaki's sudden forwardness, but watching the looks and smiles on both Mirio and Nijiri's faces, you couldn't help but smile back in response.
Thank you, Amajiki.
You called, before you turned to the tree, finally placing the star atop its peak and completing the look for 3A's common room. After Tamaki set you back down to the ground, all four of you admired the tree in all its haphazardness. Nijiri soon exclaimed that both Tamaki and yourself should see what the outside looked like before it got dark, but then stated she needed to get her shut-eye for tomorrow. Mirio agreed, bidding the both of you farewell in the dorms. Stepping outside into the brisk chill, you turned to admire the state of 3A's dormitories adorned with tinsel and holly across every balcony. Nijiri and Mirio did an excellent job rounding the third years together for a whole day's endeavor. Tamaki stood beside you, also basking in his friends' work and labor. While you took in the festive scene, you slowly swung your hand towards Tamaki, briefly touching his pinky before he curled his around yours. You smiled, reflecting on the whole day.
Thank you.
You heard beside you, your eyes falling onto Tamaki, who also admired the decorations on the dorms. You saw a small smile on his lips as his pinky tightened around yours.
I'm happy that I could help today.
What you saw in Tamaki seemed to be reinvigorated confidence. Throughout the day, you noticed little by little Tamaki putting in all of his effort into assisting or alleviating you from some Christmas duties. The timidness he always exuded from him almost looked as if it had been washed away from the day's work. However, after a few moments outside, the both of you walked towards the entrance of your dormitories, and as you crossed the threshold, you suddenly felt yourself stop in place, held back by your pinky. Tamaki had stopped himself in his tracks, standing by the door.
What is it?
You asked while your pinkies were still latched to each other. You could see the nervousness in his face, his lips drawn into a thin line and his eyes downcast. Concerned, you walked back towards him, still with pinky latched. With the sudden change in mood, something must have weighed heavily on his mind. After all, Tamaki had been nothing but helpful today. As you neared him, he slowly looked up and into your eyes, his face trembling. His eyes looked upwards, causing you to follow their path to find something dangling by the doorframe. A single sprig of mistletoe. You felt your cheeks flush, hoping that it didn't turn rosy in front of Tamaki, now being so close to him.
Could you close your eyes for a second?
He asked, his eyes looking anywhere else but you. You didn't say a word, you only just did as he asked while a small tug pulled on the corner of your lips. It was dark, with your eyes closed, of course, but you felt Tamaki's breath draw near. You felt his hand on your cheek, cupping it in his palm, before he slowly lowered his lips onto yours. It was hesitant, a light peck, something you would have expected, until he felt you return his kiss with your own. You pushed slightly into him, which warranted another one to follow from his. Tamaki pulled away just as slow, as your eyes opened to peer into his, filled with nervousness, and as soon as your eyes locked, he quickly laid his forehead onto yours, the warmth of your breaths intermingling with each other in the chilly breeze.
Merry Christmas.
Tamaki spoke softly.
Merry Christmas.